Welcome back to episode 6 of the 5-chapter rule. This week we're covering The Kidnapped Bride, which is our first manhwa, first webtoon, and I think first romance. So a lot of firsts for this one.
Yeah, I don't mind doing these ones.
No, it's nice to have a bit of variation.
Of course, yeah.
So the brief story summary for this one is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity comes to Lucina, the illegitimate daughter of Lord Beric Hankan. Is it Hankan or Hakan?
Hakan, yeah.
Hakan, the great conqueror who rules the Dragonlands of Teia, gives Lucina the opportunity to be his kidnapped bride. Desperate for any kind of freedom, Lucina agrees and steps into the unknown world. A very brief thing. I don't know why he said have to have the kidnapped part. It could be just ask her to be his bride. But
To be fair, she wasn't really kidnapped, so...
no, it was basically how shall we put it? The choice between the devil I know or the devil I don't.
Yeah.
So this person, the offer for this one is Kanhi Jameh. It seems to be their first thing. Haven't seen anything else for this person.
No, I haven't either.
So it's relatively new. It's only 19 chapters in. So it seems so it's not it started in early Jan. So
yeah, webtoons are like once every 2 weeks, I think. I don't think they're weekly because there's a lot of effort goes into them.
Some of them are weekly, surprisingly.
Well, some are, yeah. Not many.
Not many. So this has been an interesting one because so far all the ones we've done have either been completed or they've been. Actually, have all the ones we've done so far been? No, the first one wasn't. They've been completed or quite fair bit in.
I'll have you know, Isekai don't ever get completed.
I mean, some of the light novels have. I don't know about manga adaptations.
It's very rare that they do.
Siren technically did.
Not many, but we'll get there.
I mean, it got cancelled, so that's kind of. But let me bring it up multiple times. I think both of us are salty about that one. But anyway, the plot for this one. Personally, I found the first chapter gives a good reason for the main two characters to be romantically involved. The aspect of the childhood version of healing him and him looking for that person. The major problem I have with this though is that the stories having Hakan going back and forth on whether Lucina is the girl who healed him in the past or not, and if this plot point gets dragged out too long, it could be really detrimental to the overall story.
I don't think it'll be amazingly long because her hair colour will eventually go back and you'll realise anyway.
Go back to white, but it feels a bit forced. I don't know for certain. It's kind of hard not to. But I also personally don't understand these stories about trying to portray a villain as a good romantic companion or good partner. There seems to be quite a few. It
hasn't stated that he's even a villain yet, because he has done nothing evil really.
Oh, you saw the pictures I sent you, good sir, for the video. He's very villainous in quite a few of these things, but we'll get to that in the character part. But yes, he's quite villainous at parts, but it seems to be this common thing that I've seen with female written romances. They've got this perfectly innocent and lovely lady, like this almost like perfect lady, and then it's this kind of love story with them and this guy who they really would be horrendously toxic, and if you, in reality, that person would be the wife beater kind of character. And it's like, why are you trying? Why is there such an obsession with making these?
I don't think he comes off that way to me.
It's quite not this one specifically, but it just seems to be a common thing that I've seen where it's just like these really awful men in many sense, but like, oh, but look at the other side if I can make them a better person kind of attitude, and it's just like,
I think that sort of fits for this one because he's not really evil. It's like he's been pushed to. I mean, I'll go into context in a sec. Do you want me to just do a bit of context for it? For the people,
I guess.
So this little kid is 10. Also, she shouldn't be 10. No, yes, she is.
Yeah, she's 10.
She's kind of abused by her family for being an illegitimate child because her father likes sleeping around, clearly, with a concubine who's, I think, of lower class. So she keeps getting abused by people.
He's a lord and sir medieval period. It was quite
and then when she tried to run away, she ran into a forest. It turns out that she can use healing magic somehow. That's not really stated what a thing in this series yet, but she can. It
seems to be her ethnic background, I think, is what it says.
I think it'll be her mother's thing, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And then she runs into a forest, which is on fire because a dragon collapsed into it. And then she heals the dragon, and then she collapses, and it doesn't state how she goes back to her family, but she does.
So the dragon is Hakan.
Yeah.
And he has a humanoid form, and he turns back into human form and drops her off at the border, so some people can pick her up.
Yeah, but then it's stated in, I think, chapter 2, she asks why she even went back in the first place. I'm like, yeah, I'm questioning that too.
Well, it's quite common for the abuse to return.
Because the first thing she does when she sees the dragon is she sympathises with him because of the pain that he's in and that she's constantly in. I kind of appreciated that.
Yeah, that's a good link. I think my problem is maybe it's because I've worked. I guess you could say where I work, I come across quite a lot of these abusive relationships, and it's so common to have like this one side, thinking the world or this innocent of the like, oh, they're so innocent and good person. Like, this person just beat the crap out of you. And I've gone so used to that in reality. Maybe I'm seeing certain traits in this. This is where I'm having a struggle with the story because I'm seeing certain relations to reality. But
so main character Lucina is then to be given to another person as a wife, but to do that, her mother changes her hair color because that's what the husband prefers, blondes or something.
Blonde hair dyed with sulfur. Who died? I never heard of
so
that.
Scarred her face a little.
Yeah,
which comes up later on, and then her brother is an absolute dumbass. Do we both agree?
And the wicked stepmother. Yeah.
No, the brother who decides to give a dowry to the husband by stealing it from the dragon people. From
the grave of the fallen king.
That is
he
basically doomed all these people to die.
Yeah. So, without spoiling too much of the plot,
Hakan attacks, and then kidnaps her, and then the stepmother says, "Oh, she's to be wedded to this king who you don't like. So if you steal her now, it'll annoy him later." So he just basically takes her away.
And that's the plot. He offers either the choice of marrying her to be killed, and obviously she chooses not to be killed. So, I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on the plot. In reality, this would not be a great idea, but I guess in fantasy plot, I'm like I said, I'm probably linking too much because I've seen so much of this kind of mentality between a man and a woman play out, and it never ends well in reality.
I forgot the random bit of context that the reason Hakan was hurt in the first place is because the king decided to murder all of the young children of the Dragon Clan.
Yeah.
And that's why he was hurt in the first place.
because he went out to after his brother who got killed. I think.
So he's kind of annoyed when he first appears, and he hates humans because of what they've done to his people. Understandably so.
Yeah. So the plot does set up well. Like I said, I love part, the characters to some degree. I think they need to go. It could do a bit more back story into Lucina. Hopefully, they give more later on. So as we talked about the characters, it's probably best to go into them. So we'll start off with Lucina, which she reminds me very heavily of Cinderella. You know, a sweet and lovely young lady who's abused by a wicked stepmother. You know, very, very Cinderella-esque.
Yeah, she's
She
got
comes
real
from a poor
lack of confidence in
background.
herself.
No confidence in herself. As we mentioned already, she has super healing powers that she conceals due to fear of what people will do if they knew. I guess, like, you know, turn her into like a puppet or something. Or
it also hasn't stated how rare that is yet.
I think it's made clear it's quite rare. The fact if people would sought after someone with the powers, it probably means that they're quite rare. And then due to the as I said, due to constant abuse, she's very insecure. But also because of this, she looks up to the main guy for getting her out of that life. So she is very besotted to a certain extent with him because I guess in many ways, he's like her savior. He's pulling her out of this abusive family relationship. I think he's like, oh, maybe she doesn't like the fact that it took her. He doesn't seem to have realised that her family situation is like, oh, she's going to feel bad about me taking her away from you. No.
Did it also come to appear to you like it's oddly wholesome?
What, in what sense? Him and her?
Yeah, like when they're talking to each other, you'd assume that it'd be kind of, I pushed this onto you. It's like that sort of thing, but it's like he just looks after her, and it's quite wholesome.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I had was it's the utter contrast, which I guess we'll go straight into Hacken then. I guess a bit of explanation. He's the current ruler of the Dragonland
after his brother was murdered in the attacks when the kids got killed.
Yeah, he can turn into a dragon. He's like healable. He's been looking for us ever since, but he doesn't know whether Lucina is the child or not. The problem I have with him is his personality does flip between opposite ends of the spectrum. Is what I'm trying to get at. He goes from simping towards Lucina to ordering his men to burn civilians alive, including the children, and then decapitates people surrender, try and make peace for him. He just orders his men to decapitate them all, put them on pikes. You know.
To be fair, the humans would do that to his people too. They wouldn't let them live either.
But the civilians, that's the contrast I have here. Is you can't be the whole I'm doing what's necessary when you go, I'm just going to murder just burn babies alive.
That's what they did. That's what the humans did first.
So the king did, and some of the knights, which actually wasn't this castle or these people. So it's a completely different nation who did this to him, not this nation. So it's that kind. It still takes quite a lot of evil mentality.
On the other hand, as well, there's also that if he does do that, people are less likely to ever do that to him in the future and leave his people alone.
No, they're proven psychological and historically that's actually false. They're more likely to do it. People are more likely to attack more aggressively if you do something awful to them.
I can guarantee that if dragons were real, we would not want to fuck with them.
You say that, but we know how stupid people are.
Yes, like this character's stepmother, who calls him a ruthless war maniac, but then literally just said her king sent assassins to try and kill them, and then she sent mercenaries to kill them as well, so...
Yeah, I mean, that was stupid. That was incredibly stupid. Her comment about him being a maniac was just after he decapitated her soldiers after they surrendered and, you know, tried to do a peace thing with them, so...
It's not really a peace thing, it's a for peace. It's not really a peace thing.
Yeah, but if you're surrendering, you've given the white flag, the all weapons down the ground. It still takes quite a bit to go, no, I want to murder everyone. I don't know. I mean, I still find it too hard psychologically. You know, I'm a bit of a psychology guy, so having some flip flops so much on the spectrum between good and evil, it doesn't really work for me. I think it's too much. If it was a bit more like, if it was just the soldiers, that'd be one thing. I think the whole burning civilians alive bit is, it's a quite a different step. I mean, it needed to tone his aggression down to a certain level for me to believe that he could be this utter simp for the female character, which he has no reason to. That's a funny thing. It's just like,
it's because he reminds him of that child that saved him.
And yet, that's it. It seems like there's no steady build-up between him. You know, because he initially takes her because he wants to give a middle finger to this Baron or King, whatever it was. But it's immediately that he's madly in love with her. It should have been like a bit of a build-up.
This is also the first 5 chapters of a romance series, so it's going to be really slow. Nothing usually happens in these until like 20 chapters in, anyway. What do you think?
I've not read many romances, I'll have to say.
What do you think about him potentially being ageless? Because he didn't seem to age at all.
They age very slowly. I think they said something about the dragon race, they last a lot longer.
So that might be a random plot point, because he might not know what a human's age is like and how the child would be like 10 years in the future or something.
I think he makes reference to that it should be about the same age as her now or something. So he's aware of the time passage.
There's just little things that you think about in there.
It seems that children age the same for their race. It's once they reach adulthood that the growing up period is the same. It's the actual aging part which is different.
Yeah.
So I guess we mentioned quite a bit about the characters. I guess it's fair to go on to like the art.
To be fair, there's only like 2 or 3 characters right now.
Yeah, I only focus on the 2 main characters. I think the other characters are just not in it enough at the moment. There might be later down the line. I think we're gonna get a bit of a triangle. Maybe we've got that the former wife of the guy's brother, so she's former like queen, I guess, or princess, whatever. She's being she's gonna be the bitch of the series, I guess.
There's always one. We say it, but there's always one.
There's always one.
There's always a villainess character. There's usually always a secondary romanceable character.
Yeah. So that's better. So like a lot of manhwa, it's full color.
It is.
The backgrounds are mostly quite simple, but they do have this like watercolor look, which kind of works quite well. This kind of fairy tale plot.
It is slightly different than other manhwas I've been reading.
Yeah, it has like. Do you agree with the watercolor look? It does look a bit watercolor to me.
Yeah, it looks nice though. I think
cool. It fits like the fairy tale plot. That's what I'm trying to get at. I mean, it does work with the setting. The characters have a nice bit of detail on them, and the emotions are quite well portrayed across the characters' faces.
The armor's done quite well. It's plausible. It's more of a barbarian style sort of armor.
Yeah, so talking about the design aspect, our protagonist Lucina is dressed like a fantasy princess, like from like dungeons and fantasy kind of thing, which I'm guessing is to emphasize her innocence, which kind of does work for the character.
I assume that's what the king or whoever she was going to be given to wanted.
Maybe, but it just the whole plot so far with her is being very much she's this kind of very much innocent maiden.
Yeah,
very naive. Very sheltered. Even
sheltered mainly because she's probably been locked indoors most of her life.
Yeah. So the innocent design look works quite well for her.
It does, yeah.
And Hakon's armor is very stylish, but also quite practical. Well,
oh, yeah.
except for the exposed abs section, but you know, some fantasy armor leeway there. The bits which are actually there, actually quite well articulated. Not quite good, actually. I do
It might
like
work
this
in this verse. We don't know how hard dragons are to kill. Maybe his human form is still pretty hard to kill.
My question is, where does armor magically appear from when he transforms and transforms back?
Magic
pants. We're forward again to like the final section about would we read more. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Oh, what we got here? It's got quite a lot of the generic. I mean, I kind of appreciate that the dragons are a little easier to kill.
Yes.
They're not invincible super beings of death.
We don't know how they got killed, or injured in the past.
Because there's like the mercenaries that the mother hires to steal her back from the dragons. They clearly thought they could, which means they're not invincible.
I'm wondering whether all the people of the race can transform the dragons, or is it one of those ones where only the royal family can?
Well, when the little kids, when it showed you the scenes of the children dragons being slaughtered, they were in dragon form, so I'm not sure. Maybe they start off in dragon form. Or wait, here's a question for you. Are they dragons with human forms or humans with dragon forms?
I was going with humans with dragon forms because they spend most of their time as humans. If you're the initial version, would be the one that you would spend the most time as.
Yeah, because he doesn't. Because another thing I noticed, he doesn't transform again. It's the conditions for the transformation, and that's why he didn't.
True, because even when they're attacking the place, most of them were fighting on foot. Soldiers, as like with sword and shield, and not.
Yeah, because there were some dragons that were attacking it, but he was in human form, so there may be random conditions.
Or maybe it's one of those ones where it uses a lot of energy.
Yeah, maybe.
So I
mean, he wouldn't have transformed to attack the mercenaries because he were in the middle of a forest.
Yeah, a good way to burn the entire area down, isn't it?
They wouldn't fit between the trees. They're huge.
Yeah, that'd be quite funny. Yeah.
Just little bits like that. Like, it didn't state, like, I get sort of why she didn't leave the 10 years ago thing, because that family, as abusive as it was all that she knew.
Also, as a small child, good luck trying to survive in the wilderness.
Exactly, yeah.
Even with healing powers. Oh, isn't it like a weird, like, fairy thing as well?
I remember, actually. I'd have to go through it again. It's actually quite easy to read through manhwa sometimes in webtoons because there's not a huge amount of text.
Yeah, what I'm from is I think I accidentally read a little further. Like I was going through it so fast. I think I might have gone a little bit ahead.
Because if you didn't know, webtoons are made to be read on phones.
Oh, is that why?
That's why they're always perfect. That's why they're really long format, so it's easy to swipe up on phones.
Ah. That makes more sense. I didn't know that because I don't read.
No, it's just a cool little thing.
Fun. I mean, one interesting point in the plot, which I've missed maybe because I've gone a little bit too far. I don't know. There's a bit about most people can't give birth to a dragon child.
That's probably chapter 6 because I didn't get that bit.
Right.
But it does state at one point his second in command says to him that now he is the king, he has to bear royal bloodlines, regardless of how he does it.
I think it said that like most women will die giving birth to a dragon child.
Yeah, just stuff like that. Yeah.
So I guess that'll be a plot point. I'm guessing that's why the healing powers. The healing powers will keep her alive. Is what I'm going to guess is going to be the case. I'm
going to imagine it's going to be he's going to figure out that she's not as important to that king as he originally thought, but she is still technically his wife right now. And then she can heal, and she'll probably heal his people, and that'll make her more endeared to him.
Interesting.
And then eventually her hair color's going to go back to normal again. And then that's going to be a nice little plot point. And then I'd assume the king is going to attack him anyway because he is of the dragon people.
Before that, they'll probably have to she'll probably have to deal with the former wife, the wife of the former king.
Yeah.
That'll be one as well.
I think her stepmother's fine still.
Yeah, I meant the Winning Dragon.
Them as well. And then she's fine. I think the brother's still fine.
Other than the lack of brain cells.
Oh, God, he is an absolute idiot.
That's it. But anyway, final segment is would we read more? Personally, I don't generally read romance manga, manhwas. I might give it a few more chapters because it's just easy to flick through.
This is more my thing than it is your thing.
I might just flick through it a bit more. It depends on how much it focuses on the romance between the characters, whether I continue to read, whether they're going to focus a bit more on the political background of things, whether they improve on the whole relation between the two characters. I'll have to say, I might give it a little bit longer. I might give it another 5 chapters or something.
Mine depends on how fast it develops and how fast they release it. Because if it's not on a decent release schedule, it'll take a while to get back to.
Yeah, true.
But usually what I do with new series like this is I'll read all that's out, and if it's and maybe if it gets to about 30 chapters-ish, if I don't like it by then, I'm probably not ever going to like it.
True.
So for this one, I probably would read all that there is, which isn't a lot.
Which is 19 chapters, yeah. I mean,
go on.
Well, the key points for me would be if that whole point about not knowing whether she's the girl saved them not. I think that needs to be dealt with sooner rather than later. If that drags on too long, they'll be just annoying to me.
Well, I mean, it's stated that it was just a hair dye, so it's probably going to go back eventually anyway.
Yeah, but I'm expecting him to go, oh, it's that white hair, and not to assume that it's the girl. Yeah, and go, maybe.
We looked at her eyes and said their eyes are the same. So
yeah, the eyes are the same. They're very. I mean, it's quite blatantly obvious. Like no one else has those eyes.
No one else has silver eyes on silver hair yet. No.
The Moonlight Princess.
So that might just be her mother's clan or something. Something like that, anyway.
Something along that lines. So, I guess that's our review of this one.
Yeah, it's odd. We've never done one of these sorts of series before, so depending on what things we need to talk about, even if we do future ones like these.
It's definitely interesting, definitely different. It's definitely different to read in the normal stuff we read.
That's the kind of thing we're doing with these, isn't it? It's like, since we're going to make it random now, it gives us the abilities to branch out into other genres we'd probably never read.
And that was kind of part of the reason I wanted to do this series. Is there's so many mangas and manhwas and webtoons out there, so many, which is you just get completely sidetracked or buried in the big ones. That's why I just see whether I could find.
Yeah, well, for example, I don't do horror ones and I don't do mystery sort of ones. You don't do romancy ones and that, so we'll branch into those.
I've done some horror, but I've regretted some of them. Like
I've just never got into them.
Some of them have ended up just affecting my head a bit too much. I read too much into them. Like I won't say Death Tube, but some which are like that, and they're just, I'm just like, right, I can't touch them again. But anyway, the next episode is the Monster Flash Hunter.
And then after we do that one, will be the spin wheel for the next few.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
It will.
Right. Until then, see you later.
Until then.